It works. First of all, before we start, can we have a big round of applause, please, for Soul Duo, who've kept us entertained on arrival. Thank you. So you've had the fun bit of the evening, now it's down to the serious stuff. So welcome to what is the second annual general meeting of the Swan Clewer Community Interest Company. Ooh, took me ages to work that one out.
Richard, turn it up.
That Richard's in charge of my volume. If you can't hear, I'm sure there's somebody who can that will happily change places with you.
Did we say we were going to have comedy?
There you go.
That's it, right. Apart from meeting our obligation to hold an annual general meeting, there's three real purposes to this evening. The first is to remind ourselves where we were this time last year, through what has been a very, very challenging year, to put it mildly. Secondly, it is to confirm how far we've come, where we are now, and finally, to actually determine and suggest where we think we are going in the future, in the next 12 months. So when we gather it here again this time next year, we'll have even more to say and even more to report on, we hope. That's the plan. So without further ado, I will now hand over to Sasha, who will guide us through all the financial aspects of where we are now with the Swan CIC. Thank you.
Can you hear me? So we thought we'd get the boring bit out of the way and onto all the interesting stuff that these guys are going to come and talk about. One thing we really wanted to do is almost do it like, where were we last year financially and where did we land? And then we'll come on to where we're at so far in 2021. So one of the things that we really wanted to celebrate is that despite all of the COVID challenges last year, we actually finished the year positively. It's been ratified by the accountants, but we're looking at around 23k profit so far. And the key things that we wanted to talk about having made a difference were the fact that we've got such big community support. We've done a lot of fundraising and donations and all sorts of activities you all know about because you've been part of them that Anne will come on to. We made some really key decisions about when we opened and when we closed last year and what that would cost us and whether or not it was the right thing to do. Safety was as well even. We got grants and we got furlough support that came to about 27k, so they really, really did make a difference and we're very grateful for that. And we also were quite thoughtful about how we managed our cash, how we managed our costs. We made some decisions about pausing building work at times. And really, I think it was a collective effort to get us to a point where we can happily say that despite the circumstances, we ended the year well. So where are we now? So the key call-outs really are that we're returning to normal trading, hence us having this evening tonight. We've got a new general manager, Micky, and we have got some other things that are sort of playing into where we're landing financially. So staff costs have been a bit higher than they would have been because of COVID restrictions. We're carrying on with the kitchen refurb, which I think we're all desperate to get open now. And we've got a really solid trading plan coming, which again, Micky will come on to. So lastly, I just wanted to talk you through our balance sheet position as at the end of June. So on the left there we have the capital and reserves, so that's the community shares, that's the investment that we all put in up front, and that's our profit so far year to date. And on the right at the bottom, I just wanted to show you our progress year on year. So 2019 we landed at 441,000. 2020, despite everything going on, we were up 464,000. And so far year to date with the 4k profit that you saw on the slide before, we're 468. But we're really hoping that we can break the 500 by the end of this year. So despite everything, we're in a good place. Okay, that's it from me.
Thank you, Sasha. So that's the numbers. Is that louder now? It feels like that's a lot louder. Is that just me? Is that too loud now? No, it's fine. Okay, great. All right, so I'm just going to here to sing some songs and tell some jokes. Right, that's me, Richard Allen. Oh, a building. Hold on. No, it's not. This is so. I'm going to start with. I'm going to report on a couple of things. The first being the school, and secondly, for better or worse, for the building and where we are. 1 second. Just turn down my bass a bit. That's better. So just firstly with the school, that's why I'm here in a green t-shirt as opposed to the blues. This is part and parcel of why we started this and why so many people have invested as well. And I think actually throughout the process it's always important to go back and ask why. And I would imagine at several points throughout this I have gone back and asked why are we doing this again? But the reason really is that after 10 years of running alternative education over at Albert Street, whatever we've done to try and provide an education for pupils who have not been able to have it in mainstream, and we've managed to get them to a place where they've got qualifications and they're ready to move on in the world, there isn't actually many places in the world for them to move on to. And I think we're in an interesting place at the moment with neurodiversity and with businesses looking at employing people who are slightly more neurodiverse and have had a slightly more speckled background. But actually, there's still not very much. The statistics that we see here, 21.7% of people with autism are in full-time paid employment. And that has been the reason, really, that we started this, because whatever you do to get a young person up to a point where they're 16 and they're moving on, they still find college difficult. There isn't very many alternative post-16 provisions, and places of work find it very difficult to give just that extra step to accommodate some of the additional needs that the pupils have. So that was why we did it, and actually it's working, but to do this at the beginning of a global pandemic has meant that it hasn't been able to work in exactly the way that we wanted it to yet. But it can. The Swan is certainly starting to help change these statistics. So our curriculum with the GR6 kids is aiming to give the pupils an experience-based education. So something that's actually real, where they can go ahead and say that they've done things, and a CV that's a little bit more of a talking point than just a list of grades and statistics. So we've been working on projects that provide real-life skills and giving the opportunity for real-life experiences and to feel part of a wider community, because isolation has been something that we've all felt recently, but certainly for some of these young people who've been in their own bedrooms for so much time, feeling plugged into a community, especially one as forgiving and lovely as this one, is a really wonderful thing. So, bless you. So it's still not quite managed to take full flight, the Swan, really. I mean, from that perspective, we've been running for 2 years now as our GR6 curriculum, and for a lot of that time the pub has been closed. So a lot of the opportunities that we wanted to do haven't quite been there, but we've still managed to achieve quite a lot. This year especially, we've focused a lot more on the wonderful tech suite that we've had upstairs, and that's managed to plug us into a network through the internet that has been obviously hugely vibrant throughout the pandemic. And we've been working on projects with schools in America and in countries all over the world. We've actually created the Swan in Minecraft, and there's students in America going around the Swan. And they're saying, "This is your school? My God, why is there a bar there?" And Ren, if you know Ren, has been our sort of tour guide within that scenario, which has been hilarious. So we've been utilising the tech suite a lot. We've not been able to do a lot of things that we wanted to do with members of the community because we've had to remain COVID secure. Our pupils have been testing twice a week, along with the staff, along with all the warriors and everyone else who's been on site at the Swan. So it's been very difficult to actually engage with the community without them having to do a COVID test first. But it's paid off, and throughout the year we haven't had a single positive case of COVID within GR6, so it's worked out well. Thank you. and also the getting outside more, which has been really good. So if you've been following us at all, you've seen that the pupils have been out and about, doing plenty of walks, utilising the towpath and going off to Box Hill and all that sort of thing. And we actually culminated the year at the top of Snowdon, which was brilliant. So it's still quite an experience. So despite what we've been hampered with, it's been a very good year for our GR6 pupils. The highlight, possibly, as far as the Swan is concerned, has been the Epic Thursdays, and it was something that we managed to start when we weren't quite allowed to open, but we did takeaways, and we started doing that on a Thursday, and thank you to so many of you who came along to sort of patronise that. And then that grew into Epic Thursdays, into the outside space, and then the inside space. So we actually only perhaps managed to do about a dozen at the back end of the year, but it was then that you really realised actually the benefit of what we're trying to do here, and the progress that the pupils were making was phenomenal. Going from the very beginning, when we were shadowing everybody, doing everything, making coffee, serving drinks, creating pizzas and all that sort of thing. By the end of it, we were having coffees and they were getting on with everything, and it was really working. And speaking to the pupils at the end of those days, that was really fulfilling days. They were really delighted to have had a day of real life work experience, and the interactions with many of you here was just priceless, really. So I do hope that those of you that came to Epic Thursdays enjoyed it, and I hope to do a lot more of that next year. So we have pupils who are moving on to college courses, apprenticeships, and our Wings project. So every kid that's been here in GR6 has somewhere to go. The Wings project is something that's going to be a little bit more front-facing next year. Harry's actually been through our Wings project. All right, Harry? Yeah. Harry's now not part of the school. He's just a paid employee of the Swan, and that's exactly what it's meant to be. So the Wings project next year, there'll be some key pupils who've shown particular aptitude in catering and hospitality, who hopefully will be able to utilise the Swan kitchen. We hope to offer more qualifications within catering, and then go on into paid employment, whether that's here or somewhere else. So it's working within that regard. So that 21% statistic that you saw, even if we can't employ 79% of people, but we can be a beacon to other places that could. So that is the idea. And I'm hoping that next year, now that we are officially COVID's over today, right? That's where we are. So it's all done now, done and dusted. So next year, I'm really hoping that this can be a really vibrant opportunity for the kids in GR6. So the hopes for next year is for pupils to get a chance to develop catering skills, like I've just said, in the Swan's kitchen. We've also just employed a GR chef who will work specifically with the kids and during school day lunchtimes, who will provide a menu to feed our kids who've currently been eating whatever they can out of a pressure cooker. Hopefully the school lunches will be better, and we'll be utilising the produce from our market garden and providing a cheap, healthy lunch here for our kids, but then also make that available to the public during the week. We're going to work hopefully a lot more alongside the Cycle Hub, which is just taken flight here at the Swan, which is a brilliant thing. Our kids do love bikes, they love tinkering about with bikes. We did a lot of that during the pandemic, and that's brilliant for those of you that have been down here on a Saturday. So these stables over here will be turned into much more of a working space, and we're hoping that the rest of the stables can also be doing that as well. I've put potentially a hair salon as well, because we've just employed a wonderful lady who is a qualified teenage counsellor, but also a very good hairdresser. So she's happy to teach some hairdressing skills to some of our kids. So we might have a little pop-up hair salon in stable 2 or 3 sometime next year. And from looking around, there's a few people who could do with one, so including myself. Still keeping the hat on. There we go. I trimmed the beard today. That's about as far as I got. And we hope to provide more services to the community and organise more events. A lot of the events that we would have normally done, we weren't able to do last year. So our winter fair became like winter stocking sales and all that sort of stuff. Our Halloween event was closed shop just to our lower school kids. So we're hoping that those sorts of things will be able to have a much more vibrant calendar of events going through the next academic year. We also hope to get over to Ghana as well. We do have links with the school over there, and that's quite a bold move to take a school group over there, but we are making over there, actually, they've had very little COVID and have been managing to get on with quite a lot of business enterprise and that sort of thing. So we're hoping to link up a little bit more with them and get over to do a visit, if we can. So that's GR6. So it's been pretty good, and I'm hoping for a better year next year, as we all are in all manner of events. So there we go. The Swan media is absolutely superb, and the weekly email and everything, which I'm sure you all get, and the website is brilliant, and I must take my hat off to Ken for doing such an incredible job really with that. But we do have our own Instagram channel, which the kids put into and gives you a real flavour of purely just what GR6 is about. We've currently got 34 followers, but we did 105 posts last year, so if you are interested in this sort of thing, then and you are on Instagram, then please do follow InfoGR6 and you'll be able to be kept up to date with everything that's going on. Okay, that's the school. I'm now going to talk a little bit about the building. Need a big shot for that one. Right, it's finished. So this was a shot that I took this time last year. That's Willie's back profile. As you can see, he's still looking very slender. And so really using that as a bit of a point from where we were and what we've achieved over the last year. So this was covered in scaffolding, where we were sat this time last year, and this was finished on target just before the beginning of September, and it's proven to be a wonderful space, both for the school upstairs and the coach house downstairs, and it's been used on a daily basis. I think we might even have some people in there now. We've got big screen sport that's been going on a lot recently. We've used it for market stalls, and we had our wedding. Our first ever wedding at the pub, which is very nice. So it's been a really good space. It's now heated as well, which is I'm sure what we all want at this time. So hopefully going into the winter, that should be a great space as well. And the upstairs as well, we've just cleared out all the computers and everything that were in there for the school. So we're hoping to be able to utilise that for private bookings and that kind of thing, and for community events and that sort of thing. So over the summer, the schoolhouse and the tech suite could be a wonderful place for a 70th birthday or a christening or a birthday or a wedding or whatever. So have a look at that, and we'd be really pleased to have you there. It's a really lovely room. If you haven't been up there, it's open this evening, and you feel free just to pop your head in. There's no computers in there, so I'm not scared of you nicking anything. So please have a look. So we've had to do a few things in order to get the kitchen ready. You may have noticed the Warriors dug a trench, World War I style. It was incredible, really. They managed to dig a trench across the courtyard, lay down three-phase electrical supply coming from the Stable 5, and that got filled in and dug down as well. So you'll see the sort of scar line that's going across there. But that's given us the electricity that we need to power the kitchen up. The real problem with the kitchen, and I remember with a shudder actually that I stood here last year and went, hopefully you'll be here for Christmas dinner. That wasn't quite the case. These were pictures taken around Christmas time. The floor, the walls and the ceiling, that seems like it's a pretty simple thing to get ready. Not in this pub, it isn't. The floors were rotten, the walls were rotten, and the ceiling's rotten as well. So all of it needed pretty much stripping back and completely replacing or supporting. So it's not just been a case of sticking up some plasterboard and sticking it in the kitchen. Every time the Warriors have uncovered something, they've uncovered another piece of rot. And in fact, we've just had another discovery this week, haven't we, Ian? We have. Just set us back a little bit further. So it's been a labour of love, and I know if you've been checking the renovation updates, a lot of this has been waiting on the professionals to arrive. They haven't quite arrived. We did have the team that were working on the coach house who were very good and knew the site well. They were caught up on another job. Then we've had some illness. And then actually it's been really difficult to get hold of any tradesmen during this time. A lot of people have been extremely busy. We've asked for quotes that have not arrived. People have come around and shown an interest and then seen our budget and then gone, okay, that's great, thanks very much, and not come back. So it's been very difficult actually to accelerate the progress of the kitchen based on really the manpower that we've got. And the Warriors have been absolutely phenomenal to say that we've got anyone. Please do, yeah. Well done. And it's been really good for them as well. Look how healthy they're looking. I'll be calling more to arms a bit later, but just take a look at that. Look how that's it. But we have made progress. The plumbing's got in, electrics have got in, fire safety is all ready to go. You see the red cables, the grey cables, all that sort of stuff, the yellow ones. The extraction has gone in for the canopy. So a lot of the sort of groundwork has been done for the kitchen, and also we've got most of the equipment and the materials needed to put it in. So there's not actually a massive amount of cost still to come. MCFT have delivered, I mean, Stable 2 is full of kitchen equipment, ready to go into the kitchen once it's ready. We've had the windows are ready to be put in. Like it's all there. The plasterboard is in a big pile in the middle of the kitchen. The insulation's in there. All the stuff is there. It just needs to go in now. But it's the rot. Like the rot is just, it's very difficult to stop. And this has been something, I mean, Tony's uncovering slates there that we've put in ourselves. It's not like they were put in 150 years ago. We put them in, and now they're rotting underneath. So things are still happening right now. The staircase going up from the back corridor up to the schoolhouse had to be completely replaced, and that's something that we'd already fireboarded and treated, and back when Marilyn was project managing, it had been boron treated. I did one, hands up if you did a boron treatment back there. We thought that might do something, but it didn't. So everything has had to be replaced. So it does feel like you take a step forward and you do take a couple of steps back. But that's what we did when we took on a pub of this age, and wanting to retain its character and retain the building that it is. We could have knocked it down and started again. It probably would have been quicker, but we haven't, and we're not going to. So don't worry. The kitchen costs to date since the start have been £21,789, and the Warriors tab. So this is about the cost of 2 days' work of a plumber, is what it's cost us to have the Warriors here all the time, and that's it. And John and Tony and Trevor, if it's about, it's incredible. What you'll do for a pint of guardsman, unbelievable. So that's it. So we have pretty much everything we need to finish the kitchen. We just need people, really, and we do put a call out to arms in most weekly emails. There is a free beer or two at the end of it if you've put in a good shift, and the stuff is there. It's almost like we've been waiting so long to get builders in to finish the job. I think we'll probably be able to push it over the line anyway. It's just going to take time. So if anybody does have time and they do feel like they've got a power drill that's been sat there gathering dust, and they want to drill in some stud work or some plasterboard onto a ceiling, or anything like that, it's not technically hugely difficult work. I mean, some of the stuff in the joist is quite technical at the moment, but we are 7 joists away from finishing. Or is it 8? It's 8. Yeah. 8 joists needs finishing there, and then we've just got to keep treating and replacing woodwork to get it up to a point where we can finish the job. So that's the kitchen. You haven't had Christmas dinner, you've not had an Easter lunch. I'm hoping that you could have a pumpkin at Halloween, pumpkin pie. I mean, I'm really hoping that it can open in September. So that's the real hope, that the kitchen is operational by the start of term. So we'll see. So a lot has been achieved for little cost. There's a couple of pictures there of just what it used to look like. I mean, it was like 3 different rooms in the kitchen. It was a complete mess. So there's still a long way to go. You're probably going to ask about phase 1. So phase 1 was the bar and the pub and the roof. We've still got the scaffolding on the pub, which we think is a nice feature, so we were hoping to keep it. It's nice to hang flags on, put lights on for events. We're thinking about, some in situ theatre. We've actually bought the scaffolding now. It's ours. That's not a joke. We've bought it for a price that we think we can sell it for, so it's the guy who gave it to us, a wonderful Warren for Berkshire Scaffolding, went bankrupt in the time that we've had the scaffolding for. So, and he's quite happy to. So we bought it off him, so we have it. So it's there, and an enormous amount of work has been done to the roof and the chimney breasts and the pointing. But it's a huge job, and some of it just does need professional roofers, and they're hard to come by. The last roofer that I was up there with, looking for a quote, said, "Well, I'll tell you what I tell everyone who's got a Victorian property in Windsor: replace it." Well, it's just like, yeah, okay, and how much is that going to be? And I'm still waiting on that quote. So it might be that down the line, that probably is the thing that you should do if you're going to take on a property of this nature. The first thing to do is make sure that its lid is watertight. It's not yet, still isn't. We can patch up as much as we can. It's better than it was, but it's not finished. So we are waiting on quotes, and hopefully now with trading coming back in and restrictions being taken down a little bit, we may have to foot the bill for a new roof at some point. So I can't fully answer that question at the moment, so there'll be a bit of patching up and possibly a replacement. The back half, the schoolhouse, is done, and we're hoping we can take away some of that scaffolding over the rear and utilise that to finish the front. It would be lovely to get the front of the pub looking nice, but we need scaffolding in order to do that, and so that's part of the plan there. And the other thing is, we've talked about, Willie spoke last year about the various phases of refurbishment, and the next one being going up into bed and breakfast accommodation upstairs. We'll probably put the courtyard on a higher priority than that now. This has been such an incredible space. It is now, it's wonderful as it is, but the floor it would be great if we could set that off with some form of cobbles or stone paving or something like that. So it's the premier beer garden in Windsor. It's just a bit horrible in the sunshine when it all gets dusty, and it's sludgy in the rain. So it would be great if we could make this courtyard and give it the sort of floor that you deserve. So that's going up on the priority list as far as the building work's concerned, ahead of upstairs. That's me. Thank you very much.
How do you follow that? I don't know. For those who don't know me, my name's Tebbatt. I chair the Friends of the Swan group. We are 7 investors and volunteers who basically work to support everything that the bar guys and Richard and everybody does to move things forward at the Swan. So just to give you a quick idea of what we've been up to this year, our main remit falls into 3 areas, I suppose: the community and communications, fundraising, and then grants and applications. So we are the ones that are responsible for sending you all the lovely emails every week telling you what we're up to. We're the ones who keep the website, or Ken keeps the website, sends out all the social media, the Instagram, Facebook, etc. So that all comes through us. We also, in terms of the fundraising, we've been the ones doing all of the online stuff during lockdown, so all the quizzes and the bingo. Last year's Oktoberfest, if anybody made it to that. All of those kind of events and things over the last sort of 12 months have generally had some level of involvement from us as a minimum. On the charity side, we run the process which we use each year to select the local charity that the Swan will support for each year. So last year it was Family Friends, this year it's the Windsor Housing Windsor Homeless Project. So we're a lot of fundraising. We'll look at that in a moment as well, and then also raising the profile of the Swan. So either that's through awards and grants, which we'll look at in a minute, or we also work with the Plunkett Foundation, which is a philanthropic organisation, and they have an arm that works to support community pubs. So we keep in contact and work with them, and also, most importantly to most of us here, probably CAMRA. So and other similar organisations. So, in terms of what that looks like in numbers, we can have a few numbers as well. We have raised, this is, unlike Sasha's numbers, which are calendar year, this is since I spoke to you last year, so this is from July to the end of June, £19,138. So obviously a big chunk of that is the GBPA, the Great British Pub Award that we won, which was a 10k prize. But outside of that, the work we do with Chris from Delicious, from all your Friday takeaways, is about £1,700. The online events, so that was Swan Song, the Six Nations Beer and Cheese, the race night, all the quizzes and bingos. Thank you everybody for supporting that. That was just under 2,900, so 2,864. The other events, which is all the face-to-face stuff, the merchandise, everything that we actually did in the pub, was 3,152. And then obviously we collect donations, so this is some of the very kind donations that we've had after wakes, or the cash box that's on the till, etc. So that's just a quick idea of what we've managed to raise this year as well. In terms of the charity work, so we've worked with 3 main charities this year, Macmillan, the British Legion and Family Friends, as I mentioned, and that is a total, for those who can't see, of 2,684 that the Swan has donated to charity this year. So, obviously, Family Friends, being, as I said, our charity last year, was the largest amount. They also benefited from a charity donation from Coca-Cola, as part of the GBPA award as well. The Windsor Homeless Project had their first event with us last week, so they're just under £350 so far, but that will come into next year's numbers. So yeah, that was our Euro 2020 sweepstake, and the coffee morning that we had last week. It's just under £350. So, awards and achievements. Obviously, the Great British Pub Award for entertaining the community during the lockdown was our big win last year. So thank you to everybody who voted for us, that was brilliant. We've just submitted round 2 for this year. Who knows if we'll win or not. It's a different process to last year though, so we'll see what happens. Off of the back of that, we received from the British Innkeepers Association the Heart of the Community Award. So that's another one. And then Round and About magazine, which probably comes through most people's doors, I think. They had a Good Cheer Awards, and we were the overall winner for 2020-2021. I'm not sure who initially nominated us for that, but thank you to everybody who put some... We heard from the judges there were some really lovely comments that came from members of the community that led them to choose us as the overall winner. So thank you, whoever you were, for all the nice things you said, because we did hear about it. Thank you also to whoever it was who nominated us for the Berkshire High Sheriff's Award, Community Award. We don't know how we got nominated. Oh, was it Richard? Oh, I didn't know that. Should have known that. I didn't know that. But yes, we didn't win, but the Windsor Homeless Project did. So we were more than happy to lose out to them. So, Tony Cross as well. We have an individual award. Volunteering Matters is a national organisation that promotes volunteering, and they did a massive tour of the country handing out awards as they travelled from across the England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and Tony received one of their awards as they passed through Windsor, which was great. And then last but no means least, the Good Beer Guide. So this one is a really great accolade for us to have in only 12 months of being open, really, the last year. So thank you to any of you who are CAMRA members who may have voted for us. This one is completely voted for by Slough, Windsor, Maidenhead branch of CAMRA to get us into the Good Beer Guide. Now we just have to stay there. So, so thank you if that was you. And just to say, very sadly, we have lost 2 members of our investors this year. David Webb, over there, who is Teresa, who runs the book club. It's Teresa's husband. He was a volunteer down here, and you can see him in the picture there. He was very accurate in his measuring of insulation to put into the floor when we were laying the floor in the bar. So unfortunately David passed away. And also Colin Dickens, who was so excited when his local was reopening that he donated the bell that is now behind the bar and calls last orders. So we will be having the bell engraved in honour of Colin, also known as Jock, if you may have known him as Jock. So, what are we going to be doing for the next year? So looking forward to the future. More barbecues. Tony's not only a weekday warrior, he's chef extraordinaire, along with Ian. So you might have seen us out here. We're going to be continuing the barbecues over the summer. Please look out on social media and in the email. It'll be Saturdays or Sundays, depending on what else we've got going on in the pub. More events in conjunction with Micky. So we'll be doing more of the same, basically. We'll keep in touch with you still. More charity work, working with the Windsor Homeless Project and some of the others. Our coffee mornings are coming back now. We've had the first one, obviously, so we'll be starting those up now again every month. But any suggestions? Obviously, we are kind of the community representatives, I suppose. So we represent you as well as investors. And so if you have any suggestions, any feedback, any ideas on other things we can do, we are here. We're listening. You know, you can see us around the pub most days, probably one of us at least. So please come and let us know if you've got any thoughts or ideas. And finally, thank you for coming to all the mad things that we've done. We didn't know how Oktoberfest would go, and we ran out of beer on Friday night. You know? So thank you for coming to whatever we tried to make work down the Swan, and thank you for continuing to come, we hope, in the next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Hi, everybody. I think I've met the majority of you now. For those of you that I haven't met, my name's Micky. I'm the new general manager at the Swan. My background is all entertainment, houncy flouncy, dancing around cruise ships, that sort of stuff. Hence the pink shorts today. So before we go anywhere, I just want to put everyone's mind at ease. I'm going to use the C word, if I may. COVID is, as Richard said, has disappeared as of today. So just to put everybody's minds at ease, what we're going to do at the pub to continue to make sure that everybody here is safe, okay? Outside, we've rearranged the furniture as well as inside, so even though the tables may look close to each other, they're still back to back, so you're not going to be breathing in each other's faces unless you choose to. Same inside as well. My incredible team, we're going to carry on wearing face masks and face coverings for the next couple of weeks. We're testing on a Monday and a Thursday as well to make sure that everybody's completely safe. And if anybody's got any other suggestions of what we can do to make sure that everyone's safe, please do come and let me know. Okay? Marvellous. Right, we'll crack on and I'll talk about our swans. So, my name's Micky. I've told you that bit already, I don't need to tell you again. The wonderful chap that poured your free half pint, his name's Connor. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, for those of you that might not know, Connor did an incredible job running the ship in the interim, keeping everything afloat. And Connor's now our assistant manager, which definitely needs a round of applause. I don't know where he is, but he's probably gone red somewhere, so we'll leave him to it. And then we've got an incredible team that I've inherited here. So we've got Luke, Annabelle, Giacomo, Danielle, Claire, Michael, Harry and Ben. So Michael, Harry and Ben are here as well somewhere this evening. Come and grab any one of them. Absolutely. There he is. Good job, guys. Thank you very much. So, get ready for some swan puns, everybody. Not just Swan, more pub. So my sort of plan and the vision from speaking to a lot of people here is to try and make this as family friendly as humanly possible. So definitely going for that family vibe, making it a home from home. As Anne said, we're massive local charity supporters as well. We've got an incredible beer and wine selection, welcomed by Willie from the brewery as well, so thank you for that. And there's a cocktail menu on the way, so get ready to have your mind blown by the witty puns coming your way. One of them is going to be called the Signature. Thank you very much. The next one will be the Swan and Only. We'll have Swan more drink, and the final one will be I'll have this Swan, because it'll be hilarious when they're trying to order and we can have a witty repartee. So that's coming up. So the plan is we'll have a cocktail menu starting from sort of beginning of August, and we'll run it for about a month, 6 weeks, and then change it, and we'll have something fresh coming through every couple of months-ish, okay? What's Swan moving forward? Thank you. So, the beer festival's coming your way, so we've now dubbed this Swan Fest. So the 13th, 14th and 15th of August, put this in your calendars, because we're going to open at 10 o'clock in the morning instead of 12 o'clock. We're going to close at 11 p.m, so we're going to have 13 hours of nothing but festive fun. We're going to have live bands, there's going to be acts, we're going to have face painters and magicians and balloon modelers, the incredible guys from Windsor Cycle Hub. We're going to do a family fun cycle ride on the Saturday. There's going to be so much going on, and we're getting beers from, the only way to describe it is from around the country. So I'm heading back up north next week to go pick some up. Willie's off to York next week to go get some, so we're going to have some incredible beers as well here. So that's going to be a 3-day festival. Get that in your diaries, and for the Saturday, a little sneaky peek for you all. Giacomo, you probably met Giacomo, one of our bar staff that work here. His band is going to be headlining the Saturday night for us. So, if nothing else, 7 o'clock on the Saturday night, make sure you're here. They're a Pink Floyd-esque, psychedelic type band. I've listened to his stuff and it is wicked. So make sure you're here. Family favourites from the Swan in the past, the Jam Factory. Some of you may have remembered them. They're going to do our opening night. They're going to play on the Friday night for us. So there's plenty of stuff going on over the beer festival. Then Oktoberfest, as Anne mentioned, we snuck in there. We're going to be the first people in Windsor to do Oktoberfest. We're doing the 1st, 2nd and 3rd of October. Hopefully, if the kitchen's ready, we'll have sausages and all the sauerkraut and all those things. We're in discussions with umpire bands. We'll have steins of beer and Krombacher that's been proudly supported already at table 9. Thank you very much. So there's going to be plenty of stuff for Oktoberfest. Looking at theme evenings, so we'll do jam nights, a BYOI, bring your own instruments. You do 15 minutes, I might give you a beer, why not? We'll play it that way. Come and entertain the local community for free. We'll look at game show nights, cabaret evenings. We've already obviously got the incredible quiz night hosted by Mr. Martin, that I know is around somewhere. Every second Wednesday. Martin's done an incredible job with the quiz, and it's raised incredible amounts of money, as I mentioned a minute ago. So Martin, thank you very much. So then I mentioned earlier on that I'm looking at making this very family friendly. So in terms of things that I'm looking to do, potentially over Halloween we'll have a kids Halloween grotto where kids might be able to come and meet the Grinch, for instance. Definitely something that I'm looking into. We're going to be doing props and costume design classes, comedy nights. The Coach House next door is a prime place for it to become a theatre. There's so much scope in there for things to happen. So stay tuned, there's going to be plenty coming on. And then we've spoken a lot about the kitchen tonight, but I guess sort of my favourite thing that we're going to do, we're going to run a competition for you guys, the local community. We'll submit your sort of dream dish to put on a menu, and then it will go through a selecting process, and then if you're the winner from our local community, your dish will go on the menu, and your name will be next to the dish on the menu. So that's going to be something definitely to look out for when we get a little bit closer to the time. Very, very excited for that. And that's me. Thank you very much, everybody. Willie Calvert, over to you.
I've got a nice little short job here. I'm just going to fill a couple of minutes
before Richard Douglas invites any closing questions. Can you hear me now? Is that better? Yes. Fine. And what I thought I'd do was, my job is just to thank the speakers so far tonight and to summarise a little bit of what they told you. And I thought I'd do that in ascending order of how long they took to deliver their message to you. And I think we'll start with Richard Douglas, who opened tonight and set the scene, and we'll be inviting questions in a few minutes. And Richard needs a bit of thanks, not just for his setup for tonight, but for the way that as company secretary and general organiser of this place, he's the person who keeps us all honest. More than anyone, Richard kind of epitomises the values of this place and makes sure we do the right stuff. So thank you, Richard. Richard took 2 minutes, by the way. Sasha took 1 minute longer. Sasha took 3 minutes tonight, and wasn't that a really concise presentation of our accounts, not just for this year, for year to date to end of June, but also for all of last year as well. And what she showed you was that just through her really diligent management of the place, that last year, in spite of going through lockdown, we're one of very few pubs in the country that didn't lose money. And it was because of the way she got to shut down things early, was diligent on mortgage repayments and all the things to make sure the furloughs got under all the stuff we could do to look after our funds. And so it's very much down to her way of managing it. So that's true for last year. You can see it's also the same for this year. Look, in truth, we haven't traded well during that time, but it's an exceptional time, and in spite of that, we're not in a bad place. And for those of you who are investors who have given us loans in this business, the situation now is that after a year and a half of managing COVID, we're still in a situation where, for those people who have made loans to us, we think we're in a position now to be able to start to repay those from the 2-year party in the middle of August. Is that so? So from Swan Fest, we're planning that those of you like Sid sitting there will be able to redeem your money at twice the value you invested with us. And secondly, for those of you who have invested in shares in this, that we think we're on track to, in about another 3 or 4 years' time, when we've carried on doing this refurbishment work at the pace that Richard's so diligently managing it at, that at that point we'll have a business that, if it's what the investors panel choose to do, we might be able to start to pay a dividend to you, but actually there might also be a bigger purpose in continue to refurbish and do more good in the community, and that can be the investors panel call. Okay, so thank you for that, Sasha. That was 3 minutes worth. After that, I think we went to Mick. Was relatively concise, wasn't he? He was about 6 minutes, and as you can see, Mick talks a good show. We'll just have to see if his cocktails were good as they sound, but he's got off to a good start by talking about them, so well done, Mick. Now, Anne took a touch longer, of course. She was about 9 minutes, Anne, tonight, I think you were. But I think the thing is, but what a lot of content was covered in that. And, the true stars last 18 months, has been the volunteers and friends of this place for all the activities during lockdown that won national awards multiple times, as you can see. Quite remarkable what they've done. And it's not down to anything that the pub's done necessarily, it's down to what the friends have organised. And also through the communications of this place are the best of any pub I've ever known, and it's down to Ken and Anne and all the team working on the communications. Quite remarkable. I don't know any other place that communicates quite so well with people, with good, interesting new content all the time. It's fantastic. And as a result of that, they've encouraged more community groups to start up in here. I mean, like Windsor Cycle Hub, but there'll be more to follow, and it's going to be very much on the back of more people working together for different purpose, different community purpose in this place, okay? And then finally we come to, who was the long-winded person tonight?
This guy, isn't it?
I think Richard took about 83 minutes to say it. It may have been quite 83 minutes, it just seemed like that, And
And in that time, he talked about both the school and the building. And of course, on the school, you know, fantastic success story. And I think Epic Thursdays is the most wonderful thing that's ever happened in this place. I think it's lovely what it does here. And Richard also gave us some very good news in that, telling us that he was going to go to Ghana. You know, so another contribution was the building work. Look, we know it's taken a lot longer than we planned, and that we've ended up even buying the scaffold, and we haven't got the kitchen done yet. But it's in quite exceptional circumstances, and we're doing it while we're financially secure, and we will get through, and we'll get the kitchen done in the end. We'll get the scaffolding done in the end, and over the next 5 years, all that stuff will be done at the rate we can afford it. Okay. So look, I just want to thank everybody who's contributed tonight for what they've done, what they've talked about, because I've never done any project in my life that's been so much about so many good people working together for the good of others. So thanks so much for all of you. Cheers.
Thank you, Willie. I don't know if anybody was timing that, but
5:35.
thank you very much. Right, you now have a choice. You can either adjourn to the bar, or you can pose any questions. And now the panel is all still here if you have any, or if you prefer, nobody's going anywhere quickly. If you'd like to talk to anybody individually and raise a question individually, that's entirely up to you. But the evening is now yours if you want it. Colin.
Will the kitchen be able to cook haggis, and could we have a bunch?
Burns night is on the list. Burns night is on the list.
That's very much a definite. With my surname, there's got to be some haggis in there somewhere. And Ken, I'm sure, is probably growing them in his garden as we speak.
The Good Pub Awards, £10,000 is obviously a mega contribution last year to keeping things afloat. What's the chance of replicating that this year?
Well, we have applied. We're not quite sure what we've applied for this year because it's slightly different, but we've certainly put in an application. And do you want to cover that because you did it? You did all the hard work.
Yeah, they've changed the format this year. So last year it was like a 500-word essay thing, and then supporting information and lots of documents. This year it's been 13 500-word questions. I wasn't up at 2 o'clock in the morning last week at all. So we don't think it's going to be the voting process this year that it was as well. So obviously we were able to mobilise so many of you to vote for us. We also don't know whether they're going to let us win again.
Yeah.
Let's face it. But then, you know, if you make the best film 2 years in a row, you're allowed an Oscar 2 years in a row. So, and they say they're the Oscars of the pub world. So we just don't know. Whether we can make that money up from other awards or places, again, we don't know. We are constantly on the lookout for other grants and awards that we can apply for. So if anybody knows of anything that we haven't tried yet, please let us know, I guess.
The only caveat we have there is because we're not a registered charity, we are automatically excluded from some grants that we could apply for otherwise, but we'd still keep our eyes open and go for anything that we think we're in with a chance of. Louise.
With regards to the kitchen again, how exactly do you envisage the incorporation of moving forward to the kitchen and the profits to the pub? I mean, last year's AGM, when you said that it would be the pub that was running the kitchen, is that still the case? Or is today Richard was saying that the agreement was going to be running the lunchtimes during the week? So where's the money from the portions going?
So at the moment, the lunchtime during the week is when there'll be a green room chef employed to work with Wings project kids. So our pupils that are staying with us next year who have an interest in catering will be working the quiet shifts on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday during term time. That's it. And then we'll have Epic Thursdays. So Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays and every evening we need to find another chef. And actually that takes a little bit of pressure off finding a chef, because you can say we can run school day lunchtimes, and you don't need to be there. So
how are we going to manage like the stock control and the finance control between different sets of ingredients, between one chef and the second chef, and prep work done and so on? complicated.
I think, hey Louise, I think it's a really good question, and it's always hard managing these sort of situations when you want to encourage lots of different people to get involved, you know. But the answer is kind of how we do Epic Thursday now, which is that the pub manager has to have responsibility for the operation. You have to give him full, total responsibility for the overall operation. But then it's his job to work with the school to find ways that the school can take it over for certain things, for certain events, and in the same way as we do with volunteers groups as well. And of course it makes it messy sometimes in managing stock and stuff like that, but it's not beyond the wit of man to do that if we're clear about that responsibility. The pub manager is responsible. He's the GM for this site, and he has to be accountable for that, and he has to put systems in place that other people work with him. Does that answer the question? I missed the point.
Yeah, no, yeah, so it's going to be down to the level to supervise like the separation so that when the evening shift comes in, he's done some prep but it's missing, it's down to Micky to sort it out. Or, you know, if he's got in 4 pints of milk to do creme brulee and bring all through so you can something else. You know, that's what I'm trying to think about. And also, and add to that question, is about the Friends of the Swans fundraising barbecues. I mean, are we still going to be able to do those at Friends of the Swans alongside the kitchen, or instead of the kitchen at that particular shift? Or?
Absolutely, because it's not in anyone's interest that we don't have lots of people doing their own thing here. But the only thing is, just for accountability, the general manager has to own the operation and make sure the system's in place to manage that well. That's all. But I think it's a really good point, and we'll always be trying to make that work well. Cheers.
One over there, over in the corner.
Yes.
You talked about the courtyard, you talked about the accommodation. What's the plan? What's the timeline for it? Have you got sort of a view on that?
Yeah, the immediate priorities are to finish the stuff we've started before we start anything else. So that means finish the kitchen, which there's been great work underway for, and finish all that phase 1 stuff. And we're not going to allow ourselves to start anything else till we've finished a few things. Okay, that's the first thing. And then when it comes to what we do next, the question is, what do we get the best return from? And originally we thought what we'd focus on was getting the upstairs rooms working to bed and breakfast. When we look at it now, what we think is, it's quite uncertain return from that. And actually what we should do is just focus on making the pub better. And therefore, probably, what we'll do is we'll sort out the courtyard next, because we've got this view that it makes it less attractive to be in than if it was properly paved and that, you know. And we also think that maybe the first floor rooms will find a better, more immediate use than bed and breakfast. And that might be extra dining space, extra pub space, because one thing we're really short of course, when this pub becomes busier, is enough space for people. And so the only difference is that when we finish the things we've started, we'll probably do the courtyard next before the first floor, and when we do the first floor, we might use it initially for more pub space rather than bedrooms. Yeah, maximum income and also maximum people involvement. Yeah, cheers.
Yes.
Should we not have an agenda and notes taken of this AGM?
Okay, as company secretary, I think that probably lands with me. It is all being recorded, so it's on Facebook Live, which means it will be on our website. But I will do some notes on what's been said with the questions and answers as well, if that would help.
Yeah, the reason, I mean, what Will has just said about the next steps in the project seems to be really important, because nobody up to now has really, I mean, this isn't a criticism necessarily, but no one person has seemed to be able to say what is going to be the next phase. So I mean, I'm saying an agenda in advance of the meeting, but then, okay, online record of what's happened today, and
Okay, yep.
somehow that's checked out against what's been said, and then in the next year
To be held and used against us in a year's time. No, I'm joking. Yeah, I take your point entirely. Yes, it falls to me really with my company secretary hat on, but also probably via the email, whether it'll be this Friday if I have time, or there'll be a link from there saying we had the AGM and this is the points that were raised at it and available there for everybody that wants to see them.
No, I mean, I'm loath to create unnecessary paperwork, for sure, but it seems to me, as the whole project develops, there are going to have to be one or two subcommittees. I know I'll for the different areas of activity. At some point.
Yes, I mean, okay, we will be certainly looking for more involvement from any interested members of the community and helping. You've obviously heard Richard's plea for anybody that knows how to use a power drill or anything, but there will be more than that as well as we move forward, because, I mean, the Friends have had a great time, but actually maybe it's time that we rotated round and got some new blood in there as well. So there will be potential opportunities to get more people involved as we move forward. Yeah, Louise.
At the beginning of tonight's meeting, you quite plainly said it is a community investment company. Yeah? So why is it on the Clewer crowdfunding page, this one is listed as the first of the pubs in 5 pubs that are listed as a new pub? And that the investors, as one of the perks for investing into Clewer, will get a 10% discount at any of the pubs.
Again, Louise, great question. In the current crowdfunding at Windsor Brewery, it's necessary to demonstrate what pubs the brewery is responsible for. And this is one of the pubs that the brewery is responsible for. And the brewery has management responsibility for about 5 sites just now. It includes the tap room at the brewery. It includes a leasehold in Eton, the George, which is through a JV with somebody else. It's through a leasehold in Virginia Water, and it's through an agreement with the Windsor Arts Centre. And all of those places are run under different arrangements with different obligations. And there's also many more pubs that the brewery provides technical service for, provides different support for, have different degrees of ownership, including the racecourse behind us. And so when it came to crowdfunding, we had to sort of decide at what point do we consider the pub as one that we line manage. And we decided those that we line manage and have an equity stake in is kind of the right place to go, and so we listed those. And it's also true that people who invest at a certain over level, for those places which are directly run by the brewery, we're offering a discount on the bar. That excludes the Swan. To be clear, it excludes the Swan because, first of all, the brewery doesn't have the authority to do it and wouldn't claim to have that. But more importantly, here at the Swan, one of our 4 key principles is inclusivity, and one part of that means everybody pays the same over the bar. You know, it's absolutely important we stick to that. And so everybody pays the same over the bar, and therefore, you know, if investors in this place don't get a discount, nobody else is going to. If it's come across wrongly as that, then it's certainly not intended to be, and nobody will buy a share in the brewery and think they can get that without the chance to redeem it. Okay? Many thanks. Really good point. Really good point. Thanks.
Thank you. Debbie.
Just a quick question. Can we have a little bit more notice for certain events going on? I'm thinking of the coffee morning last week. We were told, I think Wednesday it came out with the date of the coffee morning on Friday. And I'd already made previous plans, so I just wonder if we can have at least a week's notice before.
Okay, yes, point taken. We normally try to get out in the Friday newsletter everything that's coming in the following week, and I think we did that on this occasion with the coffee morning, but
I don't think there's a date on it.
Then that's my fault again. because I write it, I know what I'm saying, but I don't necessarily know what people are reading, if that makes sense. But it does assume, from my perspective, that it's talking about the following week. But okay, yeah, I'll try and be slightly more accurate in future. Right at the back there.
The newsletter we get every Friday, can you reply to it and is somebody answering it?
Yes.
I've had 2 replies recently and I think I'm talking to myself here.
You should have had a reply, because there is the opportunity to send it to the email address at the bottom of the newsletter, and that should get you a response. So I can't understand why it didn't, so I can only apologise for that.
I think if you just hit reply, it probably goes through MailChimp, so it doesn't.
Right, so you have to click on the link at the bottom rather than just click on reply.
Right, okay.
It's the info.
Send it. The email comes deliberately to get round some of these spam issues. It comes from Friends of the Swan. So if you reply to Friends of the Swan, then that should get back to us. Right, that seems to me like everybody's thirsty. I certainly am. All I would want to say, before Willie pinches the microphone from me again, is that we've said a lot of thanks tonight, but actually the main thank you for getting us through this very challenging year is people like yourselves. So I think that you all deserve a very big round of applause. So thank you.
One quick thing is, I see you've still got half a pin of Windsor not sitting there, which has got to be empty tonight, and Mick says he's not going to charge for it, so it's there for you all to drink, okay? So it's just sitting there, it's empty for you now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everybody, for joining. We'll finish the live session now. If anybody does have any further questions, please feel free to send them in via our email. Thank you.